do you want Lilibet to be part of Girl Scout?
It's interesting. I think we'll continue to explore whatever feels right. But Alyssa's also a mom of a daughter.
What am I doing here? What is my role in life? But at least I've covered up my bald spot a little bit more than I did in court. And then you'll see Meghan. There comes the sign. There, you're allowed to come in, Harry. She decides to speak before the director.
My husband and I and our 12 productions, we are so proud.
You do not speak at a film festival before the director of the movie. Breaking today, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's epic disaster at the Sundance Film Festival, where they can't even fill one movie theatre, where they cannot even give an interview without snapping at the reporter and looking like an absolute cow, and where the hypocrisy reeks and the weasel words, the famous Meghan Markle word salad, cannot get around it. So we're going to analyse all of these absolutely mortifying scenes with Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network Today. But first, let me show you the moment where Meghan is clearly horrified to be asked about the daughter who she has decided to pimp out on social media virtually every other weekend. Watch.
A young daughter, she's maybe a little bit too young for Scouts at this point. Do you want Lilibet to be part of Girl Scout?
It's interesting. I think we'll continue to explore whatever feels right. But Alyssa's also a mom of a daughter.
As Nancy Sidley put it, I think accurately, Meghan gets extremely uncomfortable, in my opinion, whenever asked about the kids. So she's proven the only time she would give information is when you're paying her. Wow, she couldn't be more obvious. No information for free people. And then how about the great dichotomy of the fact that we have Prince Harry in the High Court in the UK saying, goodness me, my life has been destroyed by the fact that people want to write articles about me. And then literally hours later, turning up on a red carpet where to begin with, and this is what's so mortifying. Oh my God. In fact, let's watch along and I'll commentate as we go along. Meghan has basically initially had Harry standing to the side of the room. There you can see him. He's just watching along with Meghan until he gets the sign. Like a little wounded dog, a little puppy dog who's told what to do by his owner. She's loving all of this without Harry, of course. That's the director of the movie. And then you'll see Harry, he's still watching on his own. What am I doing here? What is my role in life? But at least I've covered up my bald spot a little bit more than I did in court. And then you'll see Meghan. There comes the sign. There, you're allowed to come in, Harry. Come in and do your bit. Pretend that you like the director. Give her a hug. And I thought, wow, the optics of that, especially given, by the way, that they are meant to be equal partners in this project. Because I should point out, by the way, in case you hadn't missed it, the reason they're at the Sundance Film Festival is because these two are having to sell their movie, Cookie Queens, which Netflix chose not to pick up as part of their first look deal. So I thought, that was very telling on the red carpet. Huge awkwardness. Meghan's obviously loving it. Harry, miserable as anything. And as Meghan's mole put it, wasn't Harry complaining in a British court about media intrusion and costing British taxpayers multi-millions? And here he is, after not seeing his own phantom hostage spawn for weeks posing for the media, that he complains about. And I want to take a look at this other video, which shows them on the red carpet, because I think for me, it had the ick factor because Meghan had to pretend to give a damn about these children. I don't think she does, actually, but there's all of the fake hugs. There's all of the faux laughter as she says, oh, come on out. You see, she is very much in charge of what's going on during this red carpet appearance. And these are the young children. Now, again, I will point out the hypocrisy. Others won't. These are the young children who Meghan thinks is completely appropriate. I mean, some of them are about 12 years old. Completely appropriate to put on a red carpet, to have People magazine plaster all over their Instagram, while at the same time, she launches this campaign about keeping children off social media. I don't think it adds up. Then we get inside the auditorium, which, by the way, and we will come to this, remains pretty much empty, which is absolutely damning because, trust me, I've been to loads of these big film festivals. You've got royalty at that film festival, doesn't matter what time of day it is, that auditorium is sold out. Now, in Meghan's case, it wasn't. That's mortifying in itself. But then she decides to do something that no star does. It is not the done thing if you were in the world of lovey movie mayhem. And for Meghan, she wants to be in the world of lovey movie mayhem, so really she should be doing and following the protocol, which is, it doesn't matter how big you are as a star. It doesn't matter if you're Brad Pitt. It doesn't matter if you're George Clooney. It doesn't matter if you're Jennifer Lawrence. You do not speak at a film festival before the director of the movie. That is always how it's worked. That is always the tradition. But of course, because it is Meghan and she views herself as royalty, introduced on stage, of course, as Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex, all protocol is thrown out the window and she decides to speak before the director. Let's watch this together.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's much-hyped appearance at the Sundance Film Festival has ended in embarrassment, as new footage reveals a half-empty auditorium and a speech that critics are already calling a total car crash. This was meant to be a triumphant Hollywood moment. Instead, it's raising serious questions about the Sussexes' relevance, credibility, and star power. Video from inside the venue shows rows of empty seats as Meghan takes the stage, delivering remarks that many viewers say felt awkward, self-focused, and completely disconnected from the audience. Rather than winning over a sceptical crowd, the appearance appears to have amplified doubts about whether the Sussex brand can still command genuine public interest without controversy doing the heavy lifting. Tonight, we're breaking down the footage frame by frame with the Royal News Network, separating PR spin from reality and asking the uncomfortable question, was this simply bad luck? Or another sign that the Hollywood experiment is failing in real time? If you want independent royal coverage you won't get from the mainstream media, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Sundance unfair, or did this moment expose the truth?
So you see this woman.
Our director, I want to invite a very special guest on stage. Can you please join me in welcoming Meghan, Duchess of Sussex?
So use of the title, and she makes the point that it's before the director, and Meghan comes out. What an outfit, by the way. Why did she not dress up? And here comes the word salad. Prepare for it.
Thank you so much for being here bright and early. I know some of you probably had late nights last night, so extra thanks for the effort.
Pointing out that there are empty seats.
Coffee can't help. Look, my husband and I and our 12 Productions, we are so proud and privileged to be able to support and uplift Cookie Queens. This film, yes, is probably the cutest at the festival, but I'm also going to go out on a limb and say it is one of the most powerful and meaningful depictions of something that is an American tradition and rooted in nostalgia.
She wasn't happy with the film being described as cute.
From the incredible creative vision of Alyssa to show something modernized about the girlhood experience and all the layers of complexity that come with that. So yes, it's cute, and yes, these young ladies are fantastic and adorable, but they are also layered, beautiful girls who are about to become very strong leaders and young women. So thank you for supporting that.
And she's like, yes, you must clap. See the nod? Clap me.
A huge thanks to our team at R12 Productions, Chanel, Wesley, Q, we love you guys, thank you so much for everything.
Now this is weird.
Josh
She's
Braun,
acting as if she's won an award.
And then of course the producers.
She thinks this is an Oscar speech. Meghan is at this festival to try and sell the movie.
With all of the hundreds of hours of trusted fly-on-the-wall material that they were able to capture with these families that let them in and allowed them to show and share their lives and their loves. I think the editorial in this that you'll see is also something pretty outstanding. But that is all testament to the talent and expertise of the director, Alyssa Namias, who is here today, and I'm so excited to introduce her to you. Please give her a big round of applause.
Okay, so finally Meghan then allows the director to come on stage. Now I should point out, by the way, in case you don't know this, all of the movie was made before Meghan was involved. None of it was to do with her at all. They've been involved for 2 years trying to sell this damn thing. Netflix didn't want it. That is why they are at Sundance, trying to pimp out the movie, and it is not working. But Meghan's reaction to the director's speech, well, look, let's just watch together because it's very odd. She hates someone else being in the spotlight.
Your genuine passion for Cookie Queens. You, Prince Harry, Chanel Peisnick, and your whole team at Archwell have understood my vision for this film from the moment I first shared it with you. And I'm grateful for your unwavering trust in me as an artist and your belief in the power of our film story to connect with audiences around the world.
Shaking. And see, there she comes out, arms folded, unimpressed that she's not center stage, I would argue. By the way, could she not even press the trousers? I mean, you know I'm not a fashion guy, but...
Thank you to Kim Yutani, Eugene Hernandez, and all of the Sundance Film Festival programming team, the Institute staff, and volunteers. Being back at Sundance this year for the world premiere of Cookie Queens is a dream come true. Cookie Queens took flight thanks to the Sundance Catalyst program led by our champions there, Julia Caruso, Monique Avila, Julia Nelson.
This is not a woman who uplifts other women.
Catalyst investor community. Yeah.
That is not a woman uplifting other women, let me tell you. Then, of course, we get the totally predictable Instagram story, which Meghan thinks shows how this was a great triumph. What I'm looking for, though, is a buyer. Did anyone want to buy this movie? Did any streaming service come in and say, we're going to pay you a load of money? Did any distributor say, we want to take this internationally? Because I've seen none of that. Then you get the awkwardness about the fact that they didn't even sell out. This is revealed by Johnny Oleksinski, who is the film critic for the New York Post, who revealed the Sussexes couldn't sell out Sundance. Although Prince Harry and Meghan Markle attended the Park City, Utah bow of the new documentary they produced, Cookie Queens, there were plenty of open seats at the Eccles Theatre. As the film began, roughly 150 unoccupied spots remained on the balcony. It wasn't even close to being a sellout. Plus some scattered chairs on the ground. That number ultimately tightened to about 60 as lucky waitlisters slowly filled empty places reserved for high-paying pass holders. The coveted express badge costs $6,900, who mostly passed on the visiting royals. Now, that matters, of course, because the people with the expensive passes, with the $6,900 passes, are the people who are going to be able to afford to buy and distribute this movie. He went on in the same theatre the night before at the mobbed premiere of Olivia Wilde's The Invite, starring Seth Rogen, Penelope Cruz, and Edward Norton. Staff had to turn away about 100 actual ticket holders as seats there are not assigned. Even a much less glamorous movie called Buddy with Christian Melotti and Topher Grace left 40 out in the cold at Library Centre at midnight on a Thursday. And Stephanie Sidley made the point, this whole Sundance production is not the flex Harry and Meghan think it is. If Netflix were thrilled, if their brand were booming, if their audience demand were growing, they wouldn't need Sundance to validate them. So let me bring in Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network now. Brittany, a huge amount to pick up on here. But again, what we see is a disaster appearance. Weird speech, weird uncomfortable moment on the red carpet, bristling about Lily, weird interaction between Meghan and Prince Harry, who is left on the side as if he is just a bit part player in all of this. And then the fact that they could not even get the people to show up.
I mean, it's such a disaster, Dan. It really is. And of course, sort of the biggest elephant in the room is, like you said, that Netflix didn't buy this project. That's huge because if they've been in development for 2 years, Netflix would have been well aware of this film and passed. That tells you that it's not really all that great and not something they're really interested in. And in the grand scheme of Hollywood, Netflix is king. Netflix is the biggest streaming service. They have the most money to invest. And so that they are not all that interested in this is just absolutely astounding, but also shows that Harry and Meghan have a dismal track record when it comes to their documentaries. They do not do well. We've had this just be explored with Love Meghan, and then I did double check because they had been producers on, I think it was called The Mikasa Kids or something like that. That didn't even chart at all in the top 7,000 titles from Netflix in the last what we watched. Everything Harry and Meghan is attached to is middling at best. It doesn't do well, especially their nonfiction series. And I think broadly, Netflix is done with anything nonfiction related to them. I think they'll give them some pass on fiction titles, but for right now, Harry and Meghan, they can't sell seats. Meghan can't sell product. They can't sell. People watch them to watch the train wreck. They're not actually invested in Harry and Meghan, except for a very small, few, loud minority group of people. Everybody else is sort of done with them.
And Brittany, that speech, as you posted, I don't think Meghan Markle ever saw a microphone she didn't want. I imagine she's sharing about the one weekend she spent in the Girl Scouts, spinning into some dramatic tale about resilience, feminism, entrepreneurship, etc. Very typical and very empty. Now, Brittany, I found that speech super weird because to me, as someone who has read how this woman reacts to things, it was obvious that she wasn't happy with the fact that this movie had been described as cute. She didn't like that. Like, for her, this movie obviously has to represent some form of feminism.
It does. She wants everything to have depth and have this great meaning and everything. And sometimes that's just not the case. And honestly, probably the best way to sell the film is as it's cute. It shows cute girls. They are kind of growing up in girlhood, these sorts of things, and going through the Girl Scouts. But it's very weird and odd that on the red carpet, obviously, and through this film, Meghan is promoting the Girl Scouts. And yet she won't commit to her own daughter being in the Girl Scouts, which goes to show and prove, I think, that all this gobbledygook she likes to share about, the importance of the Girl Scouts and what it teaches you and everything is just complete nonsense because she obviously just doesn't really care. And I'm still confused as what she means about when she said, I hope you like it, the editorial or something about the movie. And I'm like, editorial? What do you mean by editorial? Maybe I'm just not well versed in the minutia of like film reviewing or whatever, but I didn't know what she meant by editorial because I think news and editorial. But I don't think Meghan really knows anything about the film industry, to be quite honest. She's attempting to make it. It's not going well. And everything she does has to be self-referential, which means that she can't evaluate whether a project is good simply based on its own merits. She promoted it as reflecting her and her experience, which is very minimal. And so when she's asked personal questions about it, she can't really answer. And when it comes to selling this movie, she doesn't really have the ability to sell it because she was only a Girl Scout for 5 seconds. And so this whole thing is an absolute train wreck. And she and Harry continue to prove why they haven't made it in Hollywood. She doesn't have a good eye, Meghan. Harry should just be in parentheses at this point because he's pretty much useless in this industry. And they just can't pick good projects. And this is another example of how they always pick things that are good for Meghan, not actually good projects. Like, there's a big difference there.
100%. But Brittany, I mean, there are certain rules that you follow if you're playing this game. And Meghan had to insert herself before the director. And that's just not the dumb thing when you're selling a movie. Like, yes, of course she's more famous, but very often, Brittany, the stars or the executive producer of a movie are more famous than the director. I'll give you the example of Hamnet, right, which is one of the films going for the Oscars this year. And Chloe Zhao is the director. Steven Spielberg is one of the executive producers. But you would never see Steven Spielberg introducing the film on stage at a festival ahead of the director because it's just not the done thing. But of course, Meghan can't help herself. Now, of course, if she wanted to speak, she could have spoken after the director because then she would be following protocol, film festival protocol. And look, some people might say that type of thing is ridiculous, but I think it just shows you how for Meghan, she doesn't give a damn. It has to be her first, at the forefront and at the center of everything.